music.
Can you hear me in the jail?
Yes, ma'am, we can. Are we coming through okay?
Yes, you are. I'm going to start with Austin Gortler.
Ma'am, just for further down the list, when we get to Mr. Bush, he has bonded out. Go.
He said he has bonded out.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. For the record, in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Austin Eugene Gortler, file number 22-03009 FY. Counsel, can I have your appearance?
Aaron Robinson, Assistant Public Defender for Mr. Gortler for purposes of arraignment.
Okay, Mr. Gortler, today is the date set for your arraignment. I have here a felony complaint. It alleges that on or about November 2nd, 2022, in the area of 3031 South Washington Ave, apartment K2, that you did allegedly, contrary to law, commit the act in count 1 of assault with intent to do great bodily harm less than murder or by strangulation. It alleges that you did make an assault upon Alessandra Rodriguez by strangulation or suffocation, that this was done contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.84. That's a felony. The maximum penalty is 10 years in prison and or $5,000 in fines. Your DNA is to be taken upon arrest, and a consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. There's a count 2 of domestic violence. It alleges that you did make an assault or assault and battery upon Alessandra Rodriguez, who is a resident or former resident of your household, or an individual with whom you had a dating relationship, and that this was done contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.812. Restitution may be ordered as that offense may have resulted in damage to another individual's property or physical injury or death to another individual. That's a misdemeanor with the maximum penalty being 93 days in jail and or $500 in fines. A consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. Do you understand the charges, sir, and the maximum penalty associated?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you have the right to be represented by counsel. You are represented today by Ms. Erin Robinson from the Office of the Public Defender, but that is for the purposes of your arraignment only. You have the right to have an attorney with you to represent you at each stage of the criminal prosecution. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney, you can request to have an attorney appointed at the expense of the public. Do you understand those rights, sir?
Yes.
Okay, is he
Yes, sir.
requesting court-appointed counsel?
He is, Your Honor.
Okay, and Mr. Gortler, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say and anything that you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty. You can plead not guilty, or you can stand mute. You have the right in this matter, because you are being charged with a felony, to proceed to a preliminary examination. You have the right to have that preliminary examination within 21 days of today's date. At the time of your examination, you have the right to be represented by counsel, and you have the right to have the prosecution meet their burden of probable cause. So at the preliminary examination, they have to establish that there's sufficient probable cause that a crime was committed, and probable cause sufficient to charge you as the person who committed the crime. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
If this matter proceeds beyond the preliminary examination, you have the right to proceed to a trial. At the time of trial, you have the right to be represented by counsel. You have the right to remain silent at trial and not have silence be used against you. You have the right to the presumption of innocence, and that presumption carries until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And that beyond a reasonable doubt burden is a burden that's on the prosecution. You have the right to see, hear, or question any of the witnesses the prosecution intends to call. You have the right to call your own witnesses to trial or present evidence that you believe would further defenses to these charges. Do you have any questions about your rights at this time?
No.
You have the right to be considered for pretrial release from custody, and we'll address your bond in just a moment. For the purposes of his arraignment, how is he pleading?
He enters a plea of not guilty, Your Honor.
The court will enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf. Mr. Gortler, are you currently employed?
Yes.
Or where are you employed?
I'm employed at Solzer's.
I'm sorry?
It's a place called Solzer's. Solzer's Med Mix.
And where is that located?
8181 Coleman Road in East Lansing.
What do you do there?
I build caulk guns.
What's your current home address?
It is 3031 South Washington, K2.
Is that the address that Alessandra Rodriguez lives at?
Yes, we both live there.
Okay, if you were to post bond, where would you stay?
I would get a hold of my friend Jason. He lives in Lansing, and probably stay with him. If I can't get a hold of him, then I have to get a hold of my grandma. I just need to get a hold of him first. I haven't been able to make a call.
What's your phone number?
My phone number is 517-940-5049.
You're currently scheduled for probable cause conference before Judge Stacia Buchanan in courtroom 2. That's scheduled for November 10th, 2022 at 2:30 p.m. You have a preliminary examination scheduled before Judge Buchanan. That's scheduled for Thursday, November 17th at 10:30 in the morning. The preliminary examination will be in person at the court. However, the probable cause conference will be held via Zoom. Did you get contact information for how to log into the Zoom?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Okay, do you have any questions at this time?
No.
Okay, counsel, you can address bond.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Gortler has been in Lansing for the past 2 years. He is currently working. He was born in Michigan and he does have family in the state. They live in the southern part of the state. He is not on probation or parole, has no other open cases. He has a very minor criminal history. We would request a personal recognizance bond at this time.
I'll grant the request for the personal recognizance bond. Bond will be set in the amount of $2,500 personal recognizance. While out on bond, you're not to have any contact directly or indirectly with Alessandra Rodriguez. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor. So I was told earlier that in order to get my belongings, I'd have to have a third party, but you're telling me I can't. So which one should I do?
Yeah, Your Honor, we were going to ask for a third-party contact or a law enforcement officer escort to allow him to retrieve any belongings that he may have at that location.
You know, he's not to have any contact directly or indirectly with the victim. Now, as it relates to retrieving his personal belongings, he needs to go with a law enforcement officer. And I'll note that here on the PA 53.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're not to be at the address of 3031 South Washington during the pendency of this matter. Again, I've noted that you're allowed to go once with a peace officer to remove your personal belongings. Any questions
Okay.
about that, sir?
No, Your Honor.
Also, while out on bond, you're not to purchase or possess any drugs or alcohol unless you have a valid prescription for the drugs. You're not to engage in any assaultive or threatening behavior. You're not to travel outside the state without prior approval of the court. Not to purchase or possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. You need to report to pretrial services within 48 hours of your release. You need to also provide them with a valid address as to where you're going to be residing within 48 hours of release, okay?
Okay, so who would I get in contact with about that?
Pretrial
You said-
services.
Okay, would it be on the yellow paper?
Yeah, they should have given you something in the jail. The yellow paper, I believe, is the Zoom instructions for Judge Buchanan, but the jail should have given you information about how to contact pretrial services upon your release.
One of the two papers I gave you this morning.
One of these two?
That one right
This
there.
one?
Yep.
Okay.
Do you see it, sir?
Yes, I do.
Okay, very good. Do you have any other questions at this time?
No, I do not.
Okay, you need to make sure you appear to all of your future court dates. Any additional matters for the record, counsel?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
You're all set, sir.
Okay, thank you.
On the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Drayon Smith, file number 22-03010, counsel appearance.
Karen Robinson, Assistant Public Defender for Mr. Smith for purposes of arraignment.
How are you, Mr. Smith?
I'm fine, how are you?
I'm doing okay. Today's the date that is set for your arraignment. I have here a felony complaint. It alleges that on or about October 31st, 2022, at the area of 1351 Glen Rose Avenue, that you did allegedly contrary to law commit the act in count 1 of assault with a dangerous weapon, also known as a felonious assault. It alleges that you did make an assault upon an Ashayana Lee with a dangerous weapon, to wit a pistol, but without intending to commit the crime of murder or to inflict great bodily harm less than the crime of murder. And if this was done contrary to MCL 750.82, that's a felony, and the maximum penalty is 4 years and or $2,000 in fines. Your DNA is to be taken upon arrest, and a consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. There's also a count 2 of domestic violence. It alleges that you did make an assault or an assault and battery upon Ms. Leak, an individual with whom you had a child in common, or a resident or a former resident of your household, or an individual with whom you had a dating relationship. That this was done contrary to MCL 750.812. Restitution may be ordered in this manner as this offense may have resulted in damage to another individual's property, physical injury, or death to another individual. This is a misdemeanor with the maximum penalty of 93 days in jail and or $500 in fines. A consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. Do you understand both charges and the maximum penalty for both charges?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You have the right to be represented by counsel. You are represented today for the purposes of your arraignment only, but you have the right to have an attorney with you to represent you at each stage of the criminal prosecution, or if you are questioned by law enforcement. And if you cannot afford to hire an attorney, you can request to have an attorney appointed at the expense of the public. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you requesting court appointed counsel at this time?
For a court appointed?
Yeah,
He is, Your Honor.
Yes, I am, yes.
okay. Okay, Mr. Smith, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say and anything that you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty. You can plead not guilty or you can stand mute. You have the right in this matter, because you are being charged with a felony, to proceed to a preliminary examination. You have the right to have that preliminary examination within 21 days of today's date. At the time of preliminary examination, you have the right to be represented by counsel. You have the right to have the prosecution meet their burden of probable cause. So they have to establish at preliminary examination that there is sufficient probable cause that a crime was committed and probable cause sufficient to charge you as the defendant with the crime. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
You have the right to proceed to a trial in this matter, and you have the right to have a jury trial. At the time of jury trial, you have the right to the presumption of innocence. You have the right to remain silent and not have silence be used against you. You have the right to see, hear, or question any of the witnesses the prosecution intends to call. You have the right to call your own witnesses to trial or present evidence that you believe would further defense to the charge. You also have the right to have the prosecution prove each element of the charge being brought against you, and they have to prove each element at trial beyond a reasonable doubt. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
You have the right to be considered for pretrial release from on bond, and we'll address bond at the end of this hearing. Are you currently employed?
Yes, I actually have 2 jobs right now.
Okay, where are you working, sir?
My first shift job is Yazaki Factory, and my second shift job is in McDonald's in East Lansing.
Your second job is in East Lansing, where?
In East Lansing on Grand River,
Okay, what's the name of the job?
McDonald's,
Okay. And what was the first place?
Yazaki Factory.
Okay. What's your home address, sir?
Where the incident occurred, 1351 North Glen Rose.
Okay, well, you won't be allowed to stay there during the pendency of this matter, so what's your plan as to where you're gonna reside?
I can go back to my grandmother's house at 2790 Sear Hall Drive, SIRHAL, and that's in East Lansing too.
What's your phone number?
The number would be 517-626-4543.
For the purposes of his arraignment, the court will enter a plea of not guilty on his behalf. That's correct, Ms. Robinson?
It is.
Okay, Mr. Smith, you're currently scheduled for probable cause conference before Judge Cynthia Ward in courtroom 1. That's going to be on Thursday, November 10th, 2022 at 2:15 p.m. You have a preliminary examination before Judge Ward. That's going to be Friday, November 18th at 8:30 in the morning. Did you get a notice to appear as well as your Zoom instructions?
Yes, but the preliminary exam says 9:30. So is it 9:30 or the time you just gave?
It's in the system. The preliminary examination should be 9:30, but I said your probable cause conference is at 2:15.
Okay.
You see
Yes,
that?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, it should be two dates on there.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, so your probable cause conference, that's gonna be via Zoom. However, your preliminary examination will be held in person at the court, okay?
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
No. Oh, yes, I do, actually. You had said I can't go back to 1351 Glen Rose, my mother's house, and I'm curious to why is that?
Is that the incident where, I'm sorry, is that the address where the victim lives?
No, that's where my mother lives. The victim is Ashiana.
No, Mr. Smith, don't say anything else, okay? Just because you're being recorded and we don't want to talk about the facts of the case on the record.
Yes, ma'am, but that's not where the victim.
The question was, is that where the victim lives? So
No,
please answer
that's my
that.
mother. Oh, well,
Okay,
no,
thank
that's not where the victim lives. That's where
That's
my
all I
mother
needed
lives.
to know was whether or not that's where the victim lives.
No, no.
Okay, well, if she doesn't live there, or the victim doesn't live there, then you can return there.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you currently on probation or parole?
Yes, I'm on parole.
You're on parole with Department of Corrections, Michigan Department of Corrections, or another
MDO.
entity?
Yes, Michigan.
You can address bond counsel.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Smith has been in Lansing his entire life. He does have family here in the area. He is working 2 jobs. He will be able to stay with his mom or his grandma, which are both in the Lansing area. He did state that he was on parole and has been reporting for that. I believe that there is a hold for that. So we would just ask for a personal recognizance bond.
Okay. He previously indicated he is, the address of the alleged victim is not the same address that the incident occurred, so he is allowed to stay there during the pendency of this matter. There will be a no contact order in place, however, as it relates to the victim Oceana Leak. As to the bond amount, there is a count 1 of a felonious assault or assault with a dangerous weapon. And the defendant being on parole, the court will not be inclined to grant a personal recognizance bond as believe that there is a threat to the public safety. Bond will be set in the amount of 2,500 cash surety. Again, there's a no contact order with the victim, not to be within 1,500 feet of wherever she lives, works, or goes to school. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
You're not to contact her directly or indirectly either. Do you know what that means?
Yes, ma'am.
So you can't have a third party reach out on your behalf about anything. You can't call her yourself. You can't text. You can't DM her. There's no contacts, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any questions about your bond condition so far?
So basically you said I can't get PR'd on the felonious assault because it's a felony and it is 2,500 cash surety. Do bail bondsmen work with cash? Do bail bondsmen work with cash surety bonds or no?
Yes, bail bondsmen do work with cash surety bonds.
Okay.
Okay, now as to your other bond conditions, you're not to engage in any assaultive or threatening behavior while you're out on bond. You're not to have alcohol, drugs of any kind unless you have a valid prescription. You're not to travel outside the state without prior approval of this court. You're not to possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. You need to report to pretrial services within 48 hours of your release from custody, okay?
Yes.
Do you have any questions? Mr. Smith, do you have any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay, any additional matters for the record?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay, you are off the record. Okay. On the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Daryl Keith Morris Jr., file number 22-03011 FY. Council appearance.
Aaron Robinson, Assistant Public Defender for Mr. Morris for purposes of arraignment.
Thank you.
And you're Daryl Morris Jr.?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Morris, today's the date that's set for an arraignment, and I have a felony complaint. It alleges that on or about November 1st, 2022, at 1413 Knollwood, City of Lansing, Ingham County, State of Michigan, that you did allegedly in count 1 commit the act of assault with intent to do great bodily harm, less than murder or by strangulation. It alleges that you did make an assault upon a Jasmine Jones by strangulation or suffocation, and that this was done contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.84. This is a felony, and the maximum penalty is 10 years or $5,000 in fines. Your DNA is to be taken upon arrest, and a consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. There's a count 2 of domestic violence. That alleges that you did make an assault or an assault and battery upon Jasmine Jones, an individual with whom you had a child in common, or an individual with whom you have a dating relationship, that this was done contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.812. Restitution is possible, as this may have resulted in damage to another individual's property, physical injury, or death to another individual. This is a misdemeanor. The maximum penalty is 93 days in jail and or $500 in fines, and a consecutive sentence may be imposed under the law if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. Do you understand the charge and the maximum penalty associated with the charge, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
You have the right to be represented by counsel. Ms. Robinson is representing you today for the purposes of your arraignment only. But you have the right to have an attorney with you to represent you at each stage of the criminal prosecution, or if you're questioned by law enforcement. And if you cannot afford to hire your own attorney, you can request to have an attorney appointed at the expense of the public. Do you understand that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Is he requesting court-appointed counsel?
Yes, Your Honor, he is.
Mr. Morris, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say and anything you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty, or you can plead not guilty, or you can stand mute. You have the right in this matter to proceed to a preliminary examination because you're being charged with a felony. And you have the right to have preliminary examination within 21 days of today's date. At the time of your preliminary examination, you have the right to have the prosecution meet their burden of probable cause. So they have to bring forth sufficient evidence to establish that there's probable cause that a crime was committed and probable cause to charge you with the crime. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
At this matter proceeds beyond that, you have the right to proceed to a trial. At the time of trial, you can have a jury trial or you can have a non-jury trial. You have the right at trial to be represented by counsel. You have the right to the presumption of innocence. You have the right to remain silent and not have silence be used against you. You have the right to see, hear, or question any of the witnesses the prosecution intends to call. And you have the right to call your own witnesses to trial or present evidence that you believe would further defense to the charges. You understand those rights?
Yes.
You also have the right to have the prosecution prove each element of the charge or charges being brought against you, and they have to prove each element beyond a reasonable doubt. Lastly, you have the right to be considered for pretrial release on bond. We'll address your bond in just a moment. For the purposes of his arraignment, is he pleading not guilty?
He is, Your Honor.
Thank you. And Mr. Morris, are you currently employed?
I am, but I'm like in between jobs.
What does that mean? Are you employed by an entity or are you
I'm
self-employed?
I'm employed, but I haven't been going to work because I've been searching for a different job. I explained that to the court lady earlier.
Okay. What's your home address?
1948 Hoyt Avenue.
What's your phone number?
517-312-6221.
You're currently scheduled for a probable cause conference before Judge Stacia Buchanan on November 10th, 2022 at 2:30 p.m. And then you have a preliminary examination before Judge Buchanan. That's going to be on November 17th at 10:30. Did you get a notice to appear in the Zoom instructions?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the probable cause conference will be held virtually via Zoom. You should have gotten those instructions, but your preliminary examination is going to be in person, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
You have any questions at this time?
No, I do not.
Are you currently on probation or parole?
No, ma'am.
Address the bond.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Morris has been in Lansing for almost his entire life. He does have family here in the area. He does usually work in factories, and in fact, he has an interview tomorrow at GM. He has an address that's away from the alleged victim in this case. He is not on probation or parole. In the past 2 to 3 years, he reports that he's only had some traffic issues that have come up. So we would request a personal recognizance bond in this matter.
appearance, the request for personal recognizance bond will be set in the amount of $2,500 personal recognizance. While out on bond, you're not to have any contact directly or indirectly with the alleged victim, Jasmine Jones. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're not to be within 1,500 feet of wherever she is. So that's where she lives, where she works, where she goes to school, where she does her laundry, where she grocery shops. You're not to be within 1,500 feet of her for any reason. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Also, while out on bond, you need to make sure you report to all of your future court dates, and you need to report on time. You're not to engage in any assaultive or threatening behavior. You're not to use alcohol or drugs without a valid prescription. Not to travel outside the state without prior approval of the court. You're not to possess or purchase a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. You need to report to pretrial services within 48 hours of your release from custody, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any questions about your bond conditions, or are you clear about what it means to have no indirect communication?
Yes, I'm very clear.
Any additional matters for the record, counsel?
No, Your Honor, not at this time.
You're all set, sir.
All right, thank you.
On the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Delisa Darlene Thompson, file number 22-01924 FY, counsel appearance.
Aaron Robinson, Assistant Public Defender, on behalf of Ms. Thompson for purposes of arraignment.
Okay, how are you, Ms. Thompson?
Not good.
I can imagine so. Today is the date that is set for preliminary examination. I'm sorry, it's set for arraignment. It's not set for a preliminary examination. I was looking at your preliminary examination date. Let me see here. Okay, I have a felony complaint here. It alleges that on or about May 1st, 2022, at the area of Herbert Street and Wilson Street, which is located in the city of Lansing, Ingham County, state of Michigan, that you did allegedly in count one commit the act of weapons carrying concealed. It alleges that you did carry a dangerous weapon, that being a pistol, whether concealed or otherwise, in a vehicle operated or occupied by said defendant, and that vehicle being a Ford Taurus. This is done contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.227. That's a felony, and the maximum penalty is 5 years and or $2,500 in fines. And there's a mandatory forfeiture of the weapon or device under the law. There's a count two of assault with a dangerous weapon, also known as a felonious assault. It alleges that you did make an assault upon a Unisha Perkins with a dangerous weapon, that being a pistol, but without intending to commit the crime of murder or to inflict great bodily harm less than the crime of murder. And this was done contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 750.82. That is a felony as well, and the maximum penalty is 4 years and or $2,000 in fines. Your DNA is to be taken upon arrest, and there's a consecutive sentence that may be imposed under MCL 750.506A if the assault was committed in a place of confinement. Do you understand the charge, the man, and the maximum penalty?
Yes. I have a can I ask a question?
Can you give me just a moment?
Ms. Thompson, I'm going to advise that you not talk about the facts of the case, okay? So if you have a question about, just how it works or things like that, that's fine, but just don't talk about the facts of the case, okay?
Okay.
Okay, if you want to hold on to your question, I'd like to advise you of your rights first, okay?
Okay.
You have the right to be represented by counsel, and you're represented today by Ms. Robinson for the purposes of your arraignment only. You have the right to have an attorney to represent you at each stage of the criminal prosecution. Or if you're questioned by law enforcement, you have the right to be represented by counsel during that questioning. Do you understand that? Do you understand that, ma'am?
Yes,
Okay, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say and then anything that you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty, to plead not guilty, or to stand mute. You're being charged with felonies here, so you have the right to proceed to preliminary examination, and you have the right to have that examination within 21 days of today's date. At the time of examination, you have the right to be represented by counsel, and you have the right to have the prosecution put on evidence to meet their burden of probable cause. So they would have to establish that there's sufficient probable cause that a crime was committed and sufficient probable cause to charge you with the crime. Do you understand that?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. You also have the right in this matter to proceed to a trial, and you can have jury trial or non-jury trial. At the time of trial, you have the presumption of innocence, and that presumption will carry unless you're proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. You have the right to see, hear, or question any other witnesses the prosecution intends to call to trial. You have the right to call your own witnesses to trial or present evidence that you believe would further defense to the trial or to the charge and charges. You have the right to remain silent and not have silence be used against you. And then you have the right to have the prosecution prove each of the elements of the charges being brought against you, and they have to prove each of the elements at trial beyond a reasonable doubt. You also have the right to be considered for pretrial release from bond. Do you understand each of those rights?
Yes,
Okay, understanding your rights to remain silent and that anything you say can and be used against you. Did you still have a question?
no,
Okay, very good. Okay, and so for the purposes of her arraignment, is she requesting court-appointed counsel?
She is, Your Honor.
Okay. And is she pleading not guilty?
She is.
The court will enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf, ma'am. Are you currently on probation or parole?
no, ma'am.
Okay, what is your home address?
3138 East Lake Lansing, East Lansing, Michigan, 48823.
Are you currently employed?
Yes, ma'am.
Where's that?
Sparrow Hospital,
And where do you do there?
I assist physicians with procedures.
And what's your phone number?
734-639-7887.
You're currently scheduled for a probable cause conference before Judge Stacia Buchanan in Courtroom 2. It's going to be Thursday, November 10, 2022 at 2 p.m. That's going to be via Zoom, and you should have received Zoom instructions. Your preliminary examination will be before Judge Buchanan on Thursday, November 17th. That'll be at 10:30 in the morning, and that will be in person, okay?
Okay,
You received the notices to appear as well as the Zoom instructions, ma'am?
yep, I got it.
Okay, and do you have any questions at this time?
No, ma'am.
You can address bond counsel.
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Thompson is from the Lansing area originally. She's been in Lansing for the past 3 years. Before that, she lived out of state for a little bit, or away from Lansing for a little bit, but is from here originally. She does have family in the area. She's a frontline healthcare worker and works at Sparrow. She does have 2 children. She's not on probation or parole, has no other open cases, and reports that she has no criminal history. We would request a personal recognizance bond.
Okay, this is an incident that allegedly occurred back in May of 2022. I've reviewed her criminal history. I don't see any prior convictions. I think she'd be a candidate that's appropriate for personal recognizance, so I'll grant a personal recognizance bond in the amount of 1,000 personal recognizance. While out on bond, ma'am, you need to make sure you come back to all of your court dates, okay?
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. While out on bond, you are not to use alcohol or drugs unless you have a valid prescription. You're not to engage in any assaultive or threatening behavior. You're not to purchase or possess any drugs without a prescription. You're not to travel outside the state without prior approval of the court. You're not to have a firearm or any other dangerous weapon in your possession. And then you're not to have contact directly or indirectly with any Unisha Perkins. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that gonna be problematic? Is that gonna be a problem
No, I just have a
Okay.
question about traveling.
about traveling? Yes, what's your question?
I'm supposed to take my kids for Thanksgiving break to their godparents' house in Minnesota. And I have those dates off. Can I still go?
You would need to submit a request. My next statement was that you need to report to pretrial services within 48 hours. You can submit a request for travel through pretrial services and they'll get it to the judge to review, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
You know the dates of your travel?
We're leaving Wednesday, the 24th, and returning Sunday. I don't know the dates. It's this month though.
Okay, I'll note that here in the file. And it's just you and your kids traveling, you said?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, I am noting in this file that I'm approving the travel, but you still need to complete a formal request, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions, ma'am?
No, ma'am.
Any additional matters for the record, counsel?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
I don't know if I said it, but bond is set at 1,000 personal recognizance. You're all set, ma'am.
Thank you.
We're on the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Alan Heiner. File number is 22-00612 FY. Counsel appearance.
Aaron Robinson, Assistant Public Defender for Mr. Heiner for purposes of arraignment.
Okay, how are you, Mr. Heiner?
I'm fine, how are you?
I'm doing okay. Today was the date that was set for a arraignment. Looks like you were sent a summons originally to appear for arraignment and you failed to appear back in March. But I have here a felony complaint and it alleges that on or about November 24th, 2021, at the area of I-96 entrance ramp near Pennsylvania, city of Lansing, Ingham County, state of Michigan, that you did allegedly contrary to law commit the act in count 1 of controlled substance possession of methamphetamine ecstasy. It alleges that you did knowingly or intentionally possess methamphetamine contrary to Michigan Compiled Law 333.74032BI. That's a felony with the maximum penalty being 10 years in prison and or $15,000 in fines. The court shall order law enforcement to collect a DNA identification profiling sample before sentencing or disposition if not taken at arrest. Mr. Heiner, do you understand the charge there and the maximum penalty?
Yes, ma'am, but I believe the dates were not correct. This was back in March. I was arrested for a traffic violation yesterday, and that's when they brought me in here.
Okay, I recognize that. I'm just telling you what the complaint says. The complaint says that the incident occurred on or about November 24th, so that's what I have. I can't go by anything else, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I can note here that you believe the incident occurred in March, and maybe the prosecutor can investigate that further, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Nonetheless, do you have any other questions about the charge and the maximum penalty attached to the charge?
No, Your Honor, I do not.
Okay, very good. You have the right to be represented by counsel in this matter. Ms. Robinson is representing you today for your arraignment only, but you have the right to have an attorney to represent you throughout the pendency of this criminal matter. If you cannot afford to hire an attorney, you can request to have an attorney represent you at the expense of the public, okay?
Okay.
Are you requesting court-appointed counsel?
He is, Your Honor.
Thank you. Okay, and then Mr. Heiner, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say, anything you put in writing can be used against you. You have the right to plead guilty, you can plead not guilty, or you can stand mute. You have the right to proceed to a preliminary examination in this matter. At the time of preliminary examination, you have the right to be represented by counsel, and you have the right to have the prosecution meet their burden of establishing that there is sufficient evidence to establish that there's probable cause that a crime was committed and probable cause sufficient to charge you as the defendant who committed the crime. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
You have the right in this matter to proceed to a trial. At the time of trial, you have the right to the presumption of innocence. You have the right to remain silent at trial, and I have silence be used against you. You have the right to see, hear, or question any other witnesses the prosecution intends to call. You have the right to call your own witnesses or present evidence that you believe would further a defense to the charge. You have the right to have the prosecution prove each element of the charge beyond a reasonable doubt. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any questions about your rights today?
No, Your Honor, I don't.
Okay, for the purposes of his arraignment, how is he pleading?
Not guilty, Your Honor.
Will enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf. You're currently scheduled for a probable cause conference before Judge Stacia Buchanan. It's going to be Thursday, November 10th, 2022 at 2 p.m. You have a preliminary examination before Judge Buchanan. It's going to be Thursday, November 17th, 2022 at 10 o'clock in the morning. The probable cause conference will be via Zoom, and you should have received Zoom instructions along with your notice to appear today. And then your preliminary examination will be here in person at the court, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any questions?
No, ma'am.
Do you have a copy of your notice to appear?
Yes, ma'am, right here.
Okay, you also have Zoom instructions there?
Is that the yellow paper?
That's correct.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, are you currently employed?
Yes, ma'am.
Where's that?
Select Cut Tree Service, as well as Brian's Home Improvement.
What's your home address, sir?
2405 MLK.
What's your phone number?
517-619-8482.
Are you currently on probation or parole?
Yes, ma'am, I am on probation in Ingham County.
At 30th Circuit?
Yes, ma'am.
Who are you on probation for?
Falsifying information. and driving with no license.
Address bond, counsel.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Heiner is from Lansing originally, and he does have family here in the area. He is currently on probation, and he reports that probation is going well. I believe that the offense predates him being on probation. He is currently working. He does work in construction. And we would request a personal recognizance bond. This is a non-violent case.
Okay, bond will be set in the amount of $500 personal recognizance while out on bond, sir. You're not to use, purchase, or possess alcohol or drugs without a valid prescription, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
You're not to travel outside the state without prior approval of the court. You're not to engage in any assaultive or threatening behavior. You're not to possess a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. You need to report to pretrial services within 48 hours of your release. I'm going to also order that you participate in urine analysis testing while out on bond, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any questions at this time?
No, Your Honor, I don't.
Any additional matters for the record, counsel?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay, you're all set, sir. Okay, I got a whole lot of pieces in here. On the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Daniel Jacob Moyer, file number 22-00282 SM. Have your appearance for the record, counsel.
Aaron Robinson, Assistant Public Defender for Mr. Moyer for purposes of arraignment.
How are you, Mr. Moyer?
Good, how about you?
I'm doing pretty good. Today is the date that we are arraigning you, sir, because you had a failure to appear bench warrant. Looks like you were supposed to be before Judge Buchanan back on October 17th, and you failed to appear. What happened, sir?
Can't really speak about it, but I'll speak to my attorney about it.
Oh, you can't speak to what happened?
No, because this is live.
Oh, okay, sounds good. Okay, well, it looks like you failed to appear a couple of times on this. This matter has been reset before Judge Buchanan for sentencing. And that's gonna be Monday, November 14th, 2022 at 8:30 in the morning, okay, sir?
Okay,
Did you get a copy of your notice to appear?
yeah.
And you have the Zoom instructions, sir? Did you get the Zoom instructions? So
No.
that you can appear virtually? You did not?
You get the yellow sheet, sir?
No,
Okay, they'll get you one. Ms. Robinson, did you want to address bond?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Moyer has been a resident of the Lansing community for a while. He is staying in Coronaville while this case is ongoing. He also states that he doesn't have a phone, and I think that might have been some of the issue of why he failed to appear for court. So we would request a personal recognizance bond.
You said he's staying where?
He's staying in Corona while the case is pending.
Okay, well, what is the reason why he needs a personal recognizance bond if he fails to appear multiple times and that he doesn't have a phone. What assurance are you providing that he's gonna come back?
Your Honor, I think that if we provide him with adequate notice today, that he will reappear. He was brought into custody. I know that he's been struggling with, while the case has been pending, with some homelessness. He states that he assures the court that he will come to future hearings.
Okay, well, I don't think adequate notice has been the reason why he failed to appear. He's been given adequate notice before about his court dates. Mr. Moyer, how are you gonna appear to court on your next court date if you're released on personal recognizance?
I will, I'll stay in Lansing with my mom so that I can have a car, I'll have a car ride and everything. I'm just not have a car ride. I was out in Corona and they refused to let me leave even for court, the house I was staying
Mr.
at.
Moyer, you don't need to go into the facts of, what happened in Corona. Just answer the question that she's asking, okay?
I'll stay in Lansing, so I have a car and like with my mom, so I have a car and everything.
Okay.
You know,
What's your
way
mom's
there.
address?
321 West Frederick Ave.
Bond will be set in the amount of $500 personal recognizance. All your previous bond conditions will continue. We need to make sure you appear in court for your sentencing, okay, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
And you can appear via Zoom if you have the capabilities through a virtual technology, or you can appear in person, okay?
I have a phone now, it's just not active, so.
Okay, sounds good. Well, then it might be better for you to appear in person if you're staying with your mom, then maybe you can get into the court in Lansing, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, do you have any questions today?
No, ma'am.
Okay, you're all set, sir.
Sorry, Supervisor.
I saw this board, I got opened up all six.
For the record of the matter, the people of the city of Lansing versus Izzy Lynn Lamont, file number 22-03007. Council appearance.
Aaron Robinson, Assistant Public Defender, on behalf of Ms. Lamont for purposes of arraignment.
Okay, today is the date set for an arraignment. I have here a citation that alleges that on or about November 1st, 2022, at approximately 7:55 p.m. in the area of 134 South Washington Square, Avenue, Michigan, which is in the city of Lansing, Ingham County, state of Michigan, that you did allegedly commit the act of trespass on the property of another or remain on the property of another. That's a misdemeanor. The maximum penalty is 90 days and or $500 in fines. Do you understand that charge and the maximum penalty associated with that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you have the right to be represented by counsel, and Ms. Robinson is representing you today for the purposes of your arraignment only. But you have the right to have an attorney with you to represent you at each stage of the criminal prosecution. If you cannot afford to hire your own attorney, you can request to have a court-appointed counsel appointed to represent you at the expense of the public, okay?
Are you guys leaving? Will you lock up?
Okay. Since she doesn't undo this. Okay. Okay, also, you have the right in this matter to plead guilty, plead not guilty, or stand mute. You have the right to proceed to a trial, and you have the right to have a jury trial or a non-jury trial. At the time of trial, you have the right to be represented by counsel. You have the right to have the prosecution prove each element of the charge being brought against you beyond a reasonable doubt. And you have the right to the presumption of innocence until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. You have the right to see, hear, or question any other witnesses the prosecution intends to call, And you have the right to call your own witnesses at trial or present evidence that you believe would further defense of this charge. Do you understand those rights?
Yes,
Do you have any questions about those rights?
no,
Are you currently employed?
yes.
Where are you employed?
Little Caesars and Howell.
Can you repeat that for me?
Little Caesars and Howell.
And what's your home address?
734 East Grand River Avenue, Lansing, Michigan, 48917.
Your phone number?
517-302-1839.
For the purposes of his arraignment, I'm sorry, it's Izzy Lamont. For the purpose of her arraignment, how is she pleading?
She's pleading not guilty, Your Honor.
She requesting court-appointed counsel?
She is.
Okay. Ms. Lamont, you're currently scheduled for a pretrial before Judge Cynthia Ward. It's going to be on November 14th at 10 o'clock in the morning, okay?
Okay,
I do not have a criminal history on this. You can address the court on bond.
Yes, Your Honor. She's been in Lansing for a couple of weeks, but she is from Michigan originally, and she has been in Michigan her whole life, originally from the Howell area. She does have family in state as well. She reports she's not on probation or parole or has any other open cases and reports that she has no criminal history. We would request a personal recognizance bond.
There's no other open cases at this time?
I think there is some trespasses, some similar trespasses, but no other cases.
Okay, well, you just said there was no other open cases, so there are open cases from what?
Yes, Your Honor. I was a little bit confused. The numbers are very similar, and so I wasn't sure if those were all previously arraigned or if they were getting arraigned today. So that's just on my note taking from this morning.
They
I
only gave
apologize.
me one file, no criminal history, so I can't. On how many, two? Okay, trespassing? Looks like there was a trespassing arraignment on Monday and yesterday, so at least two other trespassings in the same week.
yes,
I'm gonna order that the defendant undergo a psych eval with community mental health. This is abnormal behavior for someone to give, who provided that they have a place of employment and a home address. So you have three trespassings within the same week, almost 3 consecutive days. Actually, it is 3 consecutive days because today's Wednesday. So I am going to undergo that there be an evaluation with community mental health prior to release from custody. However, upon that evaluation, bond will be set in the amount of $500 personal recognizance. While out on bond, Ms. Lamont, you need to make sure you report for all of your future court dates, okay?
okay,
Not to engage in any assaultive or threatening behavior, not to travel outside of the state without prior approval of the court, okay?
okay.
Do you have any questions?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
Any additional matters for the record, counsel?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, you're all set.
Thank you.
Do we know who's calling this?
And is that all the arraignment cases, Judge?
I just have a collections one, so that's all I have for you.
Okay, thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you, you too. Okay, we're on the record in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Alfred Turner, file number 17-03379. Mr. Turner. This matter was set. Or there was a bench warrant, I should say, ordered in this matter because you were referred to collections on 3 cases, 17-03379, 18-06395, and 19-04651, all of which you have outstanding balances for your fines and costs and or restitution. You owe a total of $1,568. You haven't made any payments since 2019.
Yes, ma'am.
Why is that?
Wasn't working at the time.
You have not been working from 2019 until now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Have you been looking for employment?
I got employment now, ma'am.
Okay. Where are you employed now?
Downtown Cattle Station.
Okay, so you knew you had this collection matter, and when you got employment, you didn't reach out to get on a new payment plan?
Excuse me?
You knew you had this collection matter pending, but it appears that you did not reach out after getting your new job.
No, ma'am.
Okay, well, I'm gonna order that you report to the 54A District Court within 48 hours of your arraignment so that you can get on a new payment plan, okay?
Okay, ma'am.
You have any questions today?
No, ma'am.
What's your home address?
Excuse me?
What is your home address?
I don't have one right now. I stay with my mom and I don't know her home address because I was staying in South Carolina.
Okay, and what's your phone number?
517-894-8895.
Okay, you're all set. You need to report to collections, okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, you're all set. Thank you. That's all I have for the jail.
Thanks, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Datz.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Okay, let's see what we have here. Okay, what's your name, ma'am?
My name is Kentisha Harris, Your Honor.
Okay, very good. We're on the record in the matter of Sycamore Townhomes versus Kentisha Harris, file number 22-02064LT, council appearance.
Correct dates, P number 80641 on behalf of Sycamore Townhomes.
Okay, today was the date that was set for hearing. I adjourned this matter because Ms. Harris represented to the court that she had been working with an individual at the Advent House named Erica regarding an application. We had our eviction diversion facilitator look into that, and we were informed by Erica that she is waiting for some pay stub proofs from Ms. Harris, and that it's possible, but they're not sure yet, that Ms. Harris, you may have reached the limit for Sarah, but they need those pay stubs.
Your Honor, I did those pay stubs to her and she got back with me on, I believe it was Wednesday. It was either Tuesday or Wednesday, and said that they weren't able to help me. But I did just yesterday went and took up to my leasing office a check for $1,200. And the following day after our first court appearance that we had, I took them $900 that day. So that took care of the debt that I had of the $1,251, I believe it was, Your Honor, with them at that time.
Okay. Is that a past due amount that's been accepted?
There was
Sure.
a payment. There was a payment of. Maybe I just could help me out here.
Yeah.
I don't see. Go for it. I'll be muted,
Sorry?
Jessica. Jessica, my property manager for Sycamore.
Hi, Your Honor, I'm sorry. There was a $900 payment made on September 28th, but by that time, the balance owed was $5,316. And yes, yesterday there was $1,200 made, leaving her with a balance that includes November of $5,681.26.
Okay, Ms. Harris, do you understand that balance that's still owed?
I do understand that balance that's still owed. I just got back to work. I was on a leave of absence. I have a check that I made the person that I seen and gave to that I should be having that check in 7 to 10 business days. And that would take care of the balance that I have.
How much?
I'm gonna put you in a private meeting room with Mr. Sycamore, and Mr. Sycamore, I can put your property manager in there as well.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm saying Mr. Sycamore, I meant Mr. Datz for Sycamore. There you go.
It's all right. We can be Mrs. and Mr. Sycamore.
That's it. I'm gonna put Jessica Rogan in room 1 with you as well.
Thank you.
Yes. It's on the iPhone. What's your name? You have to unmute.
Dante Jackson.
Okay, Mr. Jackson, let's rename him. When Mr. Datz get back, we'll address your matter, okay?
Okay.
I'll put you on mute for now.
Okay.
Okay, we're back on the record in the matter of Kentisha Harris. How do you want to proceed, Mr. Datz?
Your Honor, we worked out a consent judgment giving Miss Harris until the 18th of November to pay off the balance. I read her rights in the Michigan court rules, and since we're both on Zoom, she gave me permission to sign her name to the consent judgment.
Okay, and that's correct, Ms. Harris?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and so you understand the amount that you owe in your balance?
I do, Your Honor.
And what is that amount again, Mr. Datz?
This amount includes court costs of $5,836.26.
Okay, and so Ms. Harris, you're agreeing to pay that on or before November 18th?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and you understand that you have the right to be represented by counsel, that you have the right to proceed to a trial in this matter? You have the right to have a jury trial?
I do.
And you wish to waive those rights today in order to enter into this consent judgment?
Yes.
Okay, anybody threatening you to get you to waive your rights and enter into a consent judgment?
No, they haven't, Your Honor.
Okay, did anybody make any promises to you if you enter into this consent judgment?
No.
Okay, well, you have 3 business days from today to return to the court. If you leave here today and realize you misunderstood the right that you just waived, you can request to have this judgment set aside, okay?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
And you would have to articulate to the court how it is that you believe that you misunderstood your rights. Did you give Mr. Datz permission to sign this agreement on your behalf?
I did, Your Honor.
Okay, and then do you have any questions for the court today?
I'm a little no, I don't. I'll get it figured out. Thank you.
Okay, you sure?
Well, I'm a little confused because I just feel like I know what I do owe. And again, I do have a plan behind that. But I know what I was coming to court for was for the amount that was, on the paper that said, I believe, $1,251 or such. And I would have just assumed that they would have had to do the same thing again with the remaining of the balance. Not that I don't owe the balance, but
you think that they should have to file a new eviction, and even though the past dues are accruing while you're staying in the property? Is that what your position is?
That's what I thought, or I think.
Okay. Yep, no, you were misinformed, ma'am. So that may have been the balance at the time that they filed this. This was filed back in June 29, 2022. And at the time your rent had been paid, it said through May 31st, 2022. And at that time you owed $1,251. But from the time of June to now, it sounds like you still were not paying or were not up to date with your rents. So that still accrues and you still owe that money, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you so much again.
No problem. Any additional matters for the record, counsel?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Harris, you're all set for today, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so Lara Martin.
Yes.
You need to start your video.
Okay.
Okay.
Hello.
On the record, the matter of the Sycamore Townhomes versus Lara Martin, file number 22-02072 LT. Counsel, may I have your appearance for the record?
Craig Gates on behalf of Sycamore Townhomes.
Okay, and so Ms. Martin, we adjourned your matter because you indicated to the court at your last hearing that you had been working with Erica from the Abbott House for a SARA application, and you did not have a SARA number. We did have our eviction diversion facilitator look into this, and he reported back that Erica states that you were working with them. However, they believe that your application is going to be denied because you do not fall into the qualifying arrears, meaning your rent was paid up through May 31st, and the qualifying arrears mean that you have to have owed money from March. You understand that?
No, I don't, because when my last, oh, they mean March of this year?
Correct. In order to
Yeah.
be eligible for Sarah, you have to, at this point, because the program is essentially dissolving, you had to have owed money from March going forward in order to be eligible for an application. And so they're saying that you were paid up until May 31st of this year. So the belief is that you're going to be denied because you are not within the qualifying arrears time period.
Right. And then she also emailed me and told me that I have to contact my local housing housing assistant or rental assistant program through Eaton County. And I called them and she told me that she was going to contact them to get the information that they need in order for me to
When did you have
process the
this
application through
conversation?
them. With Erica,
Yes.
it was either Monday or last week. I have to see the email just to get the date. But it was pretty recent. It was after the recent court date that we had.
Okay, well, the recent court date was just last week, so.
Yeah, so
Okay, at this point, the only thing I would be willing to do is to adjourn this 1 week, because the indication that they provide to us is that it's not likely that you're going to be qualifying based on the arrears timeframe. So if you wanted to have additional time to try to find out if you're eligible for any other resources, I could grant that for you and reset this for next week. Otherwise, I can put you in a private meeting room with Mr. Datz, and you can see if you can come to another agreement on how to resolve this.
okay. Yeah, we could probably just go to another room so that way I could find a different way.
Okay, I'll put you in a private meeting room now.
Okay, thank you.
You
Mr.
putting us back
Datz,
in breakout
do you
room
want to
1?
go? You all are already in breakout room 1, so you just need to return.
Thank you.
No problem. we're still on the record in the matter of Lara Martin and Mr. Datz. How are you gonna proceed on this?
Your Honor, we reached a consent judgment. The amount to retain possession would be $3,796.50 plus court costs of $155 for a total of $3,951.50. Defendant has the option to pay that amount on or before the 21st of November or vacate the property as soon as possible to avoid any further costs in November. No money judgment at this time. I explained her rights under Michigan court rules, and she gave me permission to sign her consent judgment on her behalf.
Okay, and Ms. Martin, is that accurate?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and so you understand that you had the right to be represented by counsel during this proceeding?
Yes,
Okay, you understand that you had the right to proceed to a jury trial in this matter?
yes,
Okay, you're willing to waive those rights today in order to enter into this consent judgment?
yes,
Okay, anybody threatening you or promising you anything to get you to waive your rights and enter a consent judgment?
no,
Okay, you have 3 business days from today to return to the court if you decide when you leave here today that you misunderstood the rights that you just waived in order to enter into this judgment. And then you can request to have the judgment set aside, okay?
okay,
You would have to articulate to the court why it is that you believe that you misunderstood your rights at that time, okay?
okay,
And you're giving Mr. Datz permission to sign on your behalf?
yes, I am.
Okay, do you have any questions today, ma'am?
No, I don't have any more like court dates or hearings, do I, like after
Nope,
this?
Nope, you'll have no more, ma'am. Not on
Okay,
this at least. Okay, okay, any other questions?
no,
Okay, any additional matters for the record, counsel?
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
You're all set, ma'am. Thank you.
thank you, bye.
No problem. We're on the record in the matter of Sycamore Townhomes versus Dante Jackson, file number 22-02067 LC. Can I have your appearance for the record, counsel?
Craig Gates on behalf of Sycamore Townhomes.
Okay, and then Mr. Jackson is present via Zoom. He's proceeding without counsel. We adjourn this matter because last week he indicated to the court that he was working with Erica from Admin House on a Sarah application. Mr. Jackson, we did have Mr. Rosa from our eviction facilitated eviction diversion program, that is, reach out to Admin House. He reported back that the Admin House was waiting for you to get back to them to execute the recertification, and they emailed you and that you had not gotten back to them. Yeah, you have to unmute or else we can't hear you.
You said I haven't got back to them?
That's what the responses that we have last is, that they were waiting for you to get back to them to execute the recertification. Did you get back to them?
Yeah, they just called me today before I went to court. I just talked to them.
Our staff had to reach out to find out that you had not reached out to them. So you did speak to them today?
Yeah, they called me today.
And did they need you to come sign something?
No, they told me that they had to talk to you guys, but I'm eligible for a research.
Okay, they don't need to speak to us. We don't speak to Admin House. This is your business to handle. If you don't handle it, then I'm gonna move forward with the eviction, okay?
Okay.
So if you want to research, you need to go and do it with the Admin House. We don't have to speak with them. That's your business.
They said it's not through Abbott House. They said it's through Capital, the other one.
Well, we had to find out through Admin House because that's what you told us, that you were working with Erica. I don't care who you follow your recertification with. If you plan to file one, you need to do it ASAP, and you need to follow up with whoever you talk to on the phone so that if there's an option for you to get these benefits, you can get them and avoid eviction. But I can't keep holding this eviction over if you're not going to make contact with them and make diligent efforts to get the paperwork completed, okay?
Okay.
So I'm gonna set this out for 1 week because I want you to go and get that taken care of, and then report back that you've gotten it taken care of.
Okay.
November 9th at 2:45.
You said November 9th at 2:45?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Questions today? No problem. Thank you, Mr. Datz.
Thank you, Jessica. You can hang up too, Jessica.
Okay, you're all set, Mr. Jackson. We'll see you next week. Don't forget to go get that research taken care of.
Okay.
Thank you.